At this point, you've probably heard of Huawei. It's a giant Chinese tech company, and there's nothing quite like it in the US. But they're best known for selling consumer products like smartphones and laptops. But they also make cellular infrastructure, the actual equipment that mobile carriers use to deploy their wireless services. In fact, they're the #1 provider of telecom equipment in the world. For years, Huawei has been accused by various countries, including the US, of selling technology that could be used for spying on Americans and other citizens. And recently, President Trump signed an executive order that bans US companies from doing business with companies in countries that are deemed US adversaries. And a second order from the Commerce Department put Huawei specifically on a blacklist for buying supplies from the US. This isn't just one of those tit-for-tat trade issues. This could be really damaging for Huawei. Smartphones actually use a lot of American technology. Google, Qualcomm, Intel, Broadcom are all cutting ties with Huawei. And every major smartphone in the world, with the exception of the iPhone, runs Google's Android operating system. And due to Trump's new policy, Google will be revoking that license. Existing Huawei phones will work, but what will future Huawei phones look like without that access to American technology? Now, there is a version of Android that they could still continue to use, but that would leave consumers without the access to Google software and security features that they've come to expect. Another big question here is the processor inside of these phones. Now, Huawei has some advantage here because they make their own chips, but they license the design of those chips from another company called ARM. And while ARM is based in the UK, not in the US, they use what is known as US origin technology. ARM says they're going to be revoking their license too, but they hope to resolve the situation soon. But for now, without access to that technology, it's a pretty bad sign for Huawei's smartphone business. Already, Huawei suppliers are struggling on the stock market, and Huawei customers are having to think twice about whether they want to buy one of their smartphones. There is a lot of other US technology inside of these Huawei smartphones, so even if they work through things like the Android operating system and the processor, they're going to have to work through a lot of other challenges to maintain their smartphone business. Huawei says they've actually stockpiled US components that could last up to a year, but if trade tensions stay the same, their phone business could look very different soon.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.